Paramount Skydance. It sweetened its offer for Warner Brothers today. Larry Ellison agreeing to personally guarantee $40 billion in equity financing for the proposed $108 billion takeover offer for Warner Brothers.
So let's bring in Bloomberg Tech co-host Caroline Hyde now for more on this story. So Caroline, this is getting really interesting. What I'm curious about is how long can this continue on, given that shareholders aren't voting until the middle of next year?
I mean, this is such a Hollywood drama, and we're living in it blow by blow. Now we're going to get real nitty-gritty details of basically Larry Ellison's wealth, of the trust. He says it's going to be irrevocable. I will not be able to start selling off bits of my assets. Largely, that's in part backed by equity shares of Oracle in and of itself, which is a share price that's been under pressure of late. But basically, he's committing, because that was the vulnerability of their offer. Remember, there is more on the table coming from Paramount in terms of financial money than there is coming from Netflix. But Netflix doesn't want the whole shebang. It doesn't want CNN. It doesn't want the cable networks. It just wants the streaming in the studios. And so from their part, all along, we've seen Warner Brothers say Netflix's offer is better, but also because the clarity of the financing. The clarity of the financing was pretty clear from Netflix. Now they're also managing to piece together what long-term financing looks like. They had bridge loans in place, BNP Paribas, HSBC, some of the banks around that. Now they've already got a revolving credit facility in place for $5 billion. They got two $10 billion loans on track. Therefore, we know that they're going to be syndicating, looking back to syndicate about $34 billion worth. You then look over to what Paramount's been doing, and they've basically been saying, my dad's really rich, and he's going to be able to afford this. But then they were like, but what are the details of his wealth, and how set in stone is that? Oh, and why have you been leaning on maybe Tencent at one point? Remember the Middle Eastern investors? At one point, it was even Jared Kushner as well, who's then since dropped out. So all of this was just more anxiety around the real financing power of Paramount Skydance. And now with this, they're trying to say, look, we are good for it. Up to $40 billion worth is going to be guaranteed by Larry Ellison himself, one of the wealthiest people in the world. But also, they're saying if this deal doesn't get done, we'll give you even more money, $5.8 billion if it gets cancelled.
So, but other than upping essentially the breakup fee and matching the breakup fee that Netflix has already offered, they haven't increased the payout to shareholders. So that's still to come, right? Sweetening the bid.
Exactly. And I think that's what many have felt, is that it's being it all comes down to how much do they value the cable networks at. And seemingly a different price than what David Zaslav thinks he could get if he spins them off. And so all of this comes down to whether or not they're going to up the actual amount. We've heard time and time again on the tech show, people coming in going, don't underestimate the competitive nature of the Ellisons and the willingness they will do to actually bring more money to the table. Maybe this, Vonnie, is the answer to your question, how long does this run? Maybe we do start to get an even more sweetened deal. But as you say, they are extending the tender offer as well out to January 21st, which is a little bit longer than they had. They're going direct to shareholders here. So it's up to the shareholders to decide, how much value do I put on these cable networks?
Yeah, now, does it matter what's getting taken? So if Netflix doesn't want part of it, but, you know, Paramount will take that, does that have to factor in as well?
I guess it does from a regulator's perspective as well. I mean, also the key issue for many is the relationship the Ellisons have with the administration. And some of the reporting out there has been that, you know, it's not been unknown that perhaps the administration would like a new owner for CNN and the like. So maybe they do want to see Paramount Skydance take out that sort of part of the business. But more broadly, I think that when it comes down to monetary value, clearly David Zaslav thinks that there's more money to be got from these cable networks. Remember, for Paramount, the cable networks are actually basically where a lot of the profit was for the business to begin with.